Hey guys, welcome to the 12th episode of my devlog, following the progress of creating an indie game, LunaX Engine, which is a top-down shoot-'em-up that I'm coding in Swift on top of the SpriteKit and GameplayKit frameworks. Since the last time, I've mainly been working on my art pipeline. So I'm seeing the end of the tunnel when it comes to the code. All my core code is done. So instead, I'm going into art mode. Previously, I spent almost 100% of my time for this project on code. And I guess that will be reduced a lot now, maybe 20% or something. And the remaining 80% for the time being will be used for art and design. I decided early on that I'm going to use this project as an excuse to probably get into Blender. And boy, I tell you, it's been quite a bit frustrating and quite a challenge. And I've been tempted so many times to pick up my old workhorse, Lightwave 3D, that I already know inside and out. But as I kept forcing myself to stick it out with Blender, I'm finally actually starting to get a grip and find some efficient workflows. Blender has its shares of annoyances and obscure ways to do some things in very unnecessary difficult ways, or even undocumented or sort of secret ways. But as you learn about them, things are actually not that bad, and of course you can get some really, really awesome results out of Blender. So I now have a workflow that I believe will work quite well for this project. So first, I model each game asset in its own blend file. And in that same file, I also do any rigging if the model will call for it. And also, if I do a rig, I probably want to animate it. So the action clips that contains the animations, I will also do in the same file. So that file is sort of the source for that model. And the action clips in Blender, I logically translate them into animation states when they are moved into the game. So it's a 1-1 relationships between the action clips and the animation game states. Then I have a master scene, which contains data for consistency. That's consistency when it comes to rendering. In this scene, I define things like the world, the lighting, and the shadow settings. This is then linked into the scene for each render of each asset. So by doing it this way, I have the flexibility to change the lighting for all sprites in the game from one centralized place. I can then just adjust the master scene, and as every asset has linked it, I simply can batch re-render them with the new lighting and shadow setup. The camera is an orthographic camera, slightly angled to give the top-down perspective a tad more interesting look. So all in all, this sort of Blender workflow I have right now will hopefully prove to be an efficient way to consistently produce game assets as I move deeper and deeper into the art phase. Then as an A-side, texturing and detailing the assets I will not do in Blender. Instead I will use Substance Painter and ZBrush for that. Concept art I will draw in Procreate on the iPad. So more on that the next time when I have some more assets ready. Continuing on the pipeline, the next step of the pipeline is to get the Blender assets into the game as sprites. I built a generator that updates my asset catalogs in Xcode automatically from the renders. It's a command line tool that I've coded in node.js. I found node.js to be the fastest way to build a tool like this. And node.js is also very, very performant. So this tool creates versions of each asset for every possible target device and screen I'm going to support with the game. I have a JSON file where each asset is defined. It defines which devices the asset will be used for, the type of the asset, which frames in the asset that belongs to which game state, and which the logical target size for the asset is in the game world. With that data, the generator can create each required variation. I will see if maintaining the JSON file manually is sustainable as the number of assets keeps growing, or if I might need to do some basic interface on top of it. So time will tell. And also, I did the basic first iteration of an FX editor. Very basic so far. Primarily, this is an isolated little playground, not to be confused with Xcode playgrounds, it's my playground, to try out new bullet effects outside the game world to have a little bit more efficient workflow. So I just set this one up the other day, so it's quite barebone right now, but I will keep exposing the necessary controls as I start ironing out bullet effects and see what I need. So expect more updates on this one as I go forward. This one I wrote using Swift UI. At the same time, I also wrote the level editor in Swift UI. And I found those two little extra apps as a perfect excuse for me to learn Swift UI and get away from having to use storyboards in Xcode. I mean, storyboards are okay to work with for iOS apps, but quite dreadful for macOS, while Swift UI so far is very, very sweet. Well, that concludes what I've been up to since last time. I will now keep focusing on concept art, renders, Blender, Substance, ZBrush, and game effects for the next week or two. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can check out my blog, where I'm writing more in-depth articles with code examples, and you can also follow me or reach out to me on Twitter. Links are in the video description. May the source be with you. Cheers!